I will recap what was discussed in the last episode number 5, so that you get an idea as to what we discussed. First, we were talking about the birth of a thought, and that it is pure. When a thought is born, it's pure, and we are polluting a pure thought. So that is the first thing we learned last week, and then the same thing was discussed, explained in Thripitaka as pabasvara bidam bhikkave chittang agantukehi upakilittena upakilittang. Prabhasvara is pure. So that is what that means. So when it is born, it's pure, but we do pollute it, or it gets defiled by raga, dvesha, moha. That is the first thing we learned, and it is about stopping it getting dirty. It's not about cleaning it. So that is the first thing you need to know. This is very, very important. This is very helpful for meditation as well, because you should be watching your mind, how it works, how it is running around. You should just stop the running. You are the one who's running, so you need to understand you're just still, and you are the one who's attempting to run. So you just stop the running, and then it becomes calm and quiet, and then you go to dhyana automatically, very easily, right? And then we discussed about how asada is created. Rupam paticca sukhan somanasang ayang rupe asada. So you get attached. There is a vipaka. You get attached to the vipaka sukha, and then you create the asada. Then we talked about adinava. What is adinava? Rupam ayang rupang aniccham dukkham viparinama dhammam ayang rupe adinamo. So that is the adinava. Then we talked about the nissarana. Nissarana is chandaraga vinayo, chandaraga pahina. So that is getting rid of the chandaraga, or reducing the chandaraga is the nissarana. Then we talked about parihana dharma and aparihana dharma. Parihana dharma are when one takes the world as nicca sukha atta. When you come across something, you take it as nicca, which is the opposite of anicca, or it happens the way you like. If you take it that way, that is a parihana dharma that will take you to the lower side, which is the hells. And then sukha, you take it as very comfortable, very happy, very good kind of thing. And then atta is valuable and important. So the opposite of that is anicca, dukkha, anatta, which is aparihana dharma. Aparihana dharma will take you towards Nibbhana. So every time, whenever you come across a thought, it could be you see something, you hear something, you smell something, you taste something, you touch something, you just identify that as anicca, dukkha, anatta, rather than nicca, sukha, atta, because nicca, sukha, atta was what you looked at it before. That is how we looked at everything before. We took everything as nicca, sukha and atta. So we came all the way in the journey of samsara, or journey of life, because of this nicca, sukha, atta concept that we were bearing. Now we understand it is anicca, dukkha, anatta. Now we have to start seeing it as anicca, dukkha, anatta. The more you see it, the more you get the feeling, and then it makes it easier for you to not attach to these things. And then we talked about attaching to vipaka and creating asada. There is a vipaka which you can't change, you can't do anything about the vipaka even the Arihatun Wahanse has. So it is the same as Panchaskandha, and the Pancha Upadanaskandha is what we create by attaching with Raga, Dvesha and Moha. And the next thing we looked at was that the senses, the five senses, they don't enjoy asada. So the eye doesn't enjoy from the vision, right? So and the ear doesn't enjoy from the sounds. Like that, they don't enjoy. Who enjoys? The mind enjoys. So that is the next thing, and it is something that is created mentally is the other thing that we identified, because there is a vipaka, and on top of the vipaka we create the abhisankara world. And then finally we looked at who is fulfilled. Is there anyone who has fulfilled? Then there are three types: Samma Sambuddha, Pacceka Buddha and Arahata Buddha. Those are the fulfilled ones. So that is what we looked at last week. Anything else? We came to the conclusion by attaching to vipaka with chandaraga, you create asada, or in other words, dukkha arya satya, which is anicca dukkha anatta. We learned that. That's where we stopped last week. So let's carry on from there. No, the five senses cannot enjoy asada. That was also discussed after that. Then who is fulfilled, and then we came to what is the asada dushtiya. We also talked about the asada view. What is the asada view? When one comes to a view saying there is nothing wrong in vastu kama, and if he believes that these should be enjoyed, that is the asada drushtiya, so the view of asada. So you need to get rid of that. That is another thing we looked at. And we also looked at methods of being paticca. There are three types of vedana: suva vedana, duk vedana, noduk no suva vedana. So with the suva vedana, you attach with raga. With the duk vedana, you attach with patigha. Noduk no suva vedana, you attach with avidya. So these are the things that we looked at last week, and we need to get rid of the raga anushaya from the suva vedana, patigha anushaya from the duk vedana, and avidya anushaya from the noduk no suva vedana. The anushaya is what is left, right? Everyone has anushaya to a certain extent. So anushaya is what is left in there. So what is left to be taken off, as in keles, avidya, trushna. So how you get rid of the keles or keles or klesha is by watching, by being mindful, without getting the raga, dvesha, moha into play. So if you get rid of raga, dvesha, moha, that is the path, and that is what Nibbhana is. That is what Nibbhana is. So coming to today's discourse, today's start. As a start, we will look at how different in paticca affects the passa. So how this paticca samuppada works, the cycle works, and how it affects the sparsha. There are 18 dhatu, right? The dhatu are the chakku, rupa, chakku, vijnana. Those are the three connected to the eye, vision, and the eye consciousness. Then sota, shabda, sota vijnana, gahana, gandha, gahana vijnana, jivha, rasa, jivha vijnana, kaya, pottabba, kaya vijnana, mano, dhamma, mano vijnana. Those are the 18 dhatu. But from this from these dhatu, 18 dhatu, there are no keles in there. These are vipaka. Even the Arihatun Wahanse has these dhatu. So don't get mixed up with this and the asada that you create on top. Whatever you create on top with raga, dvesha, moha is something else on top of this. It is not the same thing, right? These are vipaka we are talking about. Now with the chakku, we'll take one as an example and look at it, and then you will understand the other 6 the same way. Chakku gets attached, gets in contact with the rupa or the vision. Chakku is the eye, then it gets contact with the rupa or the vision, and then you start seeing something. That is the chakku viññāne, seeing. Then chakku sampassa, then starts the chakku sampassa with avidya and thrishna, and then it becomes chakku sampassaja vedana. So this chakku sampassaja vedana is the asada, what you enjoy, because you attach to that with raga. So from the first 3, eye, vision and seeing, you identify something, and then to that you add the raga or dvesha or moha, and then you create the asada in there. So if it's raga, you create asada, right? So this is chakku sampassaja vedana. It is the same in the paticca samuppade. We talk about vedana, rupa, avidya pacca sankhara, sankhara pacca viññāna, nama rupa pacca salayatana, pacca passo, passa pacca vedana. This vedana is the sampassaja vedana, passa pacca vedana. So it is the same thing. Chakku sampassa is the passa. Sang is a word that is used to it's the collection of avidya and trishna. So sampassaja vedana, it becomes chakku sampassa. It's not just sparsha, it's sampassa and then chakku sampassaja vedana. In Thripitaka, this is explained in Paresha Nānatta Sutra. Paresha Nānatta Sutra. In 227th page in Samyukta Nikaya 2, by the different ways of attachment towards dhatu, different types of contact is created, or the level of asada changes because of the different types of attachment. So what that means is, these 18 dhatu, everyone has the 18 dhatu. It doesn't matter whoever sees. Say for example, you see a woman walking down the street, so you have an eye, and then you have the vision, the image, and then you identify this as a woman. So that everyone can see and identify. Up to that there is no problem, but after that is where the chakku sampassa and chakku sampassaja vedana comes into play. When those two come into play, the level of attachment changes according to the paticca, how you attach with it, what kind of level you attach to that with. So that is that differentiates from one person to another. For example, if we take the example of the first example we looked at in the first episode, that when the woman, that lady, was walking into the temple, the old men, they saw and they attached in a different way to than how the kids, or the young boys attached to that woman. So it was different. And then there was no attachment from the Arihatun Wahansela, from the two the monks that were living, that were staying in the temple. There was no attachment. So according to the attachment is how the asada is created. So that is where the asada, the young boys created asada by looking at this lady, and the old men, they created dvesha, they created dukkha by attaching with dvesha, right? So that is how it creates, because everyone has different levels. So if it's 10 people, the level of attachment will be different. So for the 10 people, it will be 10 different levels of attachment. So different people will get different attachments and different levels of asada. Because if you're looking at a movie with 10 friends, all 10 of you will not get the same level of satisfaction or the happiness or the asada from it, or pleasure from it. It will be different depending on how much you attach to it, how much you like it. So it depends on how much you like it. So the like is created in the mind. Moving on to Samyukta Nikaya 4, Samiddhi Mara Panyaha Sutraya, page 86. Now this is explaining how about a word Mara. Actually, Mara is a word, a Sinhala word that is used as to talk about something that is like a wow thing. You say Mara, like a wow, it's a really nice, really good, really, so it's like really good kind of way. So what is explained here is you attach the eye vision and eye consciousness. Through this you attach with raga and you create a wow factor in you. So that is how you create it. So how much wow is created depends on you. It's nothing to do with the outside rupa or the eye or the consciousness. You're just identifying it, but according to how much you attach to it, you create the wow factor inside you. And again, it's mentioned here, the 5 senses cannot enjoy happiness or pleasure, gratification or asada. It's the mind who's trying to enjoy it. So this they will never fulfill. These 5 senses will never fulfill because they cannot enjoy something. So when they cannot enjoy, they won't be fulfilled anyway. So that is another reason explained in the Samyukta Nikaya 4 Samiddhi Mara Panya Sutraya. And this is also called the Dukkha Arya Satya. So getting to know this is the Dukkha Arya Satya, getting to know the Dukkha Arya Satya. Then moving on to Samyukta Nikaya 4 Loka Samudaya Sutra. Now we are looking at how the world is created. We talk about world. When we say world, there are 2 worlds. We talk about the world as in the Vipaka world and a Abhisankara world. Vipaka world, you cannot do anything about the Vipaka world because it's already there. It's created already. So if we try to do anything to do with Vipaka world, you won't succeed. So we need to understand what we need to look at. So the Abhisankara world is what we create. Right? So that is what we need to look at. So in this Loka Samudaya, Loka is the world, Samudaya is creating. So that is what the Loka Samudaya means. So how world is created is by Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So you have a Vipaka. The Vipaka are the Panchaskandha. Again, it's the same thing explained in different ways and in different examples from different sutra, so that we are talking about the same thing. You understand the same concepts in different perspectives and in different depths, right? So how the world is created is by Raga, Dvesha and Moha. So that is the Abhisankara world we are talking about. So here now I am going to take an example of a girl of about 18 years of age, dancing in the house. So she is dancing. We'll say she is dancing very nicely. There is her father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, and her brother, and her brother's friend present at the time. So say for example, everyone is watching this girl dancing. So what we are trying to look at is how different people attach differently and create the asada, or create the paticca sama uppada, how it happens, right? So change in paticca, and it changes the world you're creating. So this is what we are trying to look at. Now it is the loka samudaya. So the world, how you're creating your own world, is what we are trying to look at, right? So if the girl was, say for example, the girl is wearing a really nice dress and high heels as well, right? The girl is dancing. Let's look at the father. For example, we'll assume the father doesn't like the girl dancing very much, because he's not very fond of the daughter doing dancing, right? But the mother loves it, right? And the mother is like, oh my god, she's dancing really nicely, look at her. And the father is like, oh my god, she doesn't listen to me, she wants to dance, and dancing is not a very good thing for the culture or something. For example, we'll take it that way. And the grandfather, we'll take it as the grandfather also is okay with the dancing, and he's thinking, oh, she's dancing lovely. And then the grandmother, we'll assume the grandmother doesn't like her dancing at all, because in the Asian culture, they don't want the girls to do certain things, and they don't want to see like a young girl dancing, and especially in front of another guy as well. So the grandmother is not very happy. She is very upset and a little bit angry. The brother, for the brother, it doesn't matter. He doesn't really care. It doesn't matter. And the other guy loves to see this, and he's so attached to, say for example, he fancies this young girl, and then he's in love with her. So he's watching this, really enjoying himself, right? So now you have to look at how different people were attached to this girl and created their own world. So that is what we are trying to look at. And imagine all of a sudden something happened and she slipped and she fell down on the floor. Now all of a sudden everything goes upside down, everything changes. The father is like, oh, good that this happened. I wanted her to fall down or something. And the mother is like, oh my god, what happened to you? Are you okay? And the grandfather will be also like, oh, is she okay? And the grandmother will be happy. I didn't want her to dance. That is what happened when you do things that we don't want you to do, kind of thing. She will have that kind of mentality, and the brother wouldn't mind. He would be doing something else. He is occupied with something else. He doesn't care whether the sister is dancing or what, right? And the other guy is worried. The other guy is thinking, oh, he was really enjoying it. Now he is suffering. Oh my god, is she okay? But he can't get involved too much because the parents probably they don't know about this love affair or something. So now he is worried. Now they created their own worlds again with the attachment, the type of attachment, right? So this is what you need to see. So that is what Loka Samudaya Sutra is explaining. So we create our Abhisankara world this way. This is what we do. So how we attach towards the world, we create our world ourselves. So Rahatan Wahanse doesn't get attached to the world. So for him there is no abhisankara world. He's not creating anything. So that is the difference, and this is what you need to understand, right? This is what changes the individual's worlds. So every individual gets attached to every single thing differently. Say if it's a car, if it's a house, if it could be a person, different people, 10 people, one person will attach in different levels, and another person will attach in different levels. So that is what they create, that is how they create their own world, right? And moving on to Uddita Sutraya, Sangyukta Nikaya 1. This is also something you need to understand. They say Dukkhe Loko Patittita. In this sutra it's explained Dukkhe Loko Patittita. This has been converted or translated to say that everything is a suffering. So because it says Dukkhe, Loko is the world, Patittita, it bears, kind of thing, it has. So they have translated this to everything is a suffering. So that is not correct. So here the loka is referred to as the abhisankara world, the world that you create. So that is where the dukkha is not the vipaka. Vipaka is not what we are looking at. We can't do anything about the vipaka. Vipaka is already there. So you get rid of the vipaka when you become Arihatun Wahanse, you become enlightened, and then you come to Parinibbana, you pass away. Alright? That is when you get rid of the body and all the vipaka. Until then you have vipaka. So even after becoming Arihatun Wahanse or becoming enlightened, you will have vipaka. So here what we are talking about is not the vipaka world, it is the abhisankara world that you create mentally. So when I say mentally, is the mental thing is the attachment that you create towards every single thing. You have, like, it's like a, say it's like a rubber band or some kind of attachment band with different bands with different things in the world. So when you don't have any bands is when you become enlightened. Until then you will have different types of bands with different things, right? It could differ from one person to another, right? And the created world, the world that you created, the abhisankara world, is created with raga, right? Moving on to Vibhanga Prakarana 2, Dhyana Vibhanga. In Dhyana Vibhanga, page 47, also this is explained. It is explained very similarly. It says Pancha Upadanaskandhya is loka, right? Not the Panchaskandhya. In here it explains that it is the Pancha Upadanaskandhya. Upadana is the attached one, not the Panchaskandhya. The 5 clinging aggregates is the world, because this is all one can change. The other one you can't do anything about it. Then moving on to the next topic is how asada suffering is created. How asada suffering is created. We looked at how asada is created, but how asada suffering is created is the next one. Sangyukta Nikaya 2. In Dutiya Asada, Dutiya Asutavanta Sutraya. Dutiya Asutavanta Sutraya. Page 151. The Pruthajjana, who doesn't understand Dhamma, focuses on the body. So in this sutra they talk about the Pruthajjana. The Pruthajjana are the people who do not understand Dhamma. They haven't comprehended the Dhamma. They focus on the body. They focus on detaching from the body. Right? But the body is Panchaskandhaya. Body comes under Panchaskandhaya. So what one needs to focus on is not the Panchaskandhaya, it is the Pancha Upadanaskandhaya. It is the same thing. They are talking in a different, they are explaining it in a different way, so we understand what to do, because otherwise people would be like, they will be concentrating on bodies, looking at the bodies and trying to get rid of the body. But you need to understand what needs to be done in order to not create another body or another a birth. So this is what you need to understand. The Sutava Arya Savaka, that is a person who understands Dhamma or who has comprehended Dhamma, focuses on the Paticca Samuppada. They focus on the Paticca Samuppada. They are not focusing on the body. They are focusing on the mind. So it is to do with the mind, because you attach with the mind. The raga is in the mind. So you need to get rid of the raga. Raga, dvesha and moha. Those three are in the mind. And getting rid of raga, dvesha, moha will take you to Nibbhana. And raga, dvesha, moha is what creates the suffering. Right? What is siyelu dukha? Siyelu dukha. In here, sabba dukkha. They were talking about sabba dukkha. When we come to sabba, or sabba is swa abba. Dukkha is the suffering. Swa abba is, swa is oneself. So if I am saying swa abba, to me swa is myself. To you, swa is you. Abba is what you attach to. So what I attach to is mine. So that is what that is my sabba. So when I say sabba dukkha, to me is what I am attached to, that brings a suffering, is my sabba dukkha. So when they use the word sabba, it has been translated into all the dukkha, all the sufferings, and that is not correct. It is not all the sufferings. It is only the mental sufferings. We are not talking about the physical sufferings, not the vipaka. We are only talking about the abhisankara that we create, because we cannot do anything with the vipaka. Again, like Tathagatayan Vahanse was injured by that stone when Devadatta rolled the stone, and he was injured. He hurt his leg and he had to suffer. There was a physical pain. And you cannot get rid of that, because otherwise you understand it in a wrong manner, and you will say, oh, they say they get rid of all the sufferings. But what happened here? He hasn't got rid of all the sufferings. He had a pain. So this is not talking about the pain, it is talking about the mental pain. And again, Mugalan Maharatan Vahanse was beaten to death, and he had to bear the pain. So that is not what we are talking about. So physical pain is not the suffering that can be eliminated in Buddhism. So we are not talking about, well, physical pain can be eliminated when you become Arihatun Vahanse and then you pass away. That's when you are done with the world. You die, and that is there are two types of parinibbana: sopadisesa parinibbana, anupadisesa parinibbana. Sopadisesa is when you are living, you become nibbana. You are still living. So then you get rid of all the sufferings to do with the mental sufferings, but you still have the physical sufferings. When you become anupadisesa nibbana, that is when you die after becoming enlightened, that means you don't have any body anymore for pain. So there is no physical suffering either. So that is how you get rid of all the sufferings. You get rid of all the sufferings eventually, but not after becoming Arihatun Hanse, not when you're sopadisesa nibbana. So upadisesa, that means there are things that are left, you're not done with yet. Anupadisesa is there's nothing left, you're done with, kind of thing, right? Now let's talk about dukkha dukkha. Dukkha dukkha. Dukkha vedanayan bhikkhave passam paticca uppajjati dukkha vedana. Dukkha vedaniyanang bhikkhave passam paticca uppajjati dukkha vedana. So what happens is dukkha dukkha, how you create dukkha dukkha is what is explained here. You have one dukkha, there is a pain. For example, we'll take the same two examples, like Tathagatayan Vahanse got injured and got hurt, a physical pain, and then Mugalan Maharahatan Vahanse got a physical pain, but they didn't create a dukkha dukkha on top of that. But if we were to get a physical pain, if someone was to beat us, right, we attach with them angrily, we will create a hatred towards them, and then we suffer more. For example, if a husband hit his wife, that was the example we took before, there is a pain, there is a physical pain. Say for example the pain was 50, if we can measure the pain, if it was 50, but the wife will feel that as 500, 10 times more. She will cry for ages. The physical pain is gone, long gone. She can't even remember where she was hit, but she's still crying. Why? She's got a mental pain. And then like we discussed, after 1 week her mother comes, and then she starts crying again, saying, oh, this man hit me, you've never touched me, you've looked after me very well, but this man hit me, kind of thing. So she's crying again. So that is the dukkha dukkha that you create on top of the dukkha. Need to understand what can be eliminated and what cannot be eliminated. So this is very important, because you can only eliminate the dukkha that you created. You cannot eliminate the first dukkha. Vipaka dukkha, you can't do anything about it. So that physical suffering will always be there. So that is also something that you need to understand. There are certain examples where people, when they get hurt, they tend to attach with raga, right? So for example, there are some students, say for example, they like getting beaten by the teacher sometimes, or they say, oh, this teacher was very good, he beat us when we did some bad things, but now we have grown up, we have become really good citizens because of this teacher, and they love that teacher, they talk good about that teacher. So you can attach with raga as well, then it won't create a dukkha dukkha, it won't be a dukkha dukkha, right? So it's just that. And in counseling, some there have been occasions where some wives say, oh, my husband, he hits me when he sees anything bad, he blames me, but he's looking after me very well, I like him that way. So some of them like it, right? Same with the other thing is, when you don't know what to eliminate, right, and then you try to eliminate everything. So that is the danger of thing. You try to eliminate everything and then regard everything as a suffering. So everything is not a suffering. You need to look at what you can eliminate, at what you need to eliminate, and then eliminate that. Same with sukha. Attached with raga, dvesha, moha is the problem, right? That example again, if we talk about the sukha example, that feeding yogurt to a person by two ladies, one his lover and one his enemy, and then how it changes according to after he sees who it was. So that is also, you can only eliminate the asada that you created on top. The first bit is vipaka, sukha. Another thing that you need to understand is there are some people who attach really strongly to one person. Say for example, if a boy or girl is in love, maybe it's their first love and they're so attached, they create a very strong bonding, a bond inside their mind, and then they come to this situation where they cannot live without each other. So it's mentally created. This is what you need to understand. This is so powerful. They will even suicide or burn themselves or jump into the train tracks or jump out of from a cliff or something. So they will even do something, and they don't mind losing their life if they don't get this person, right? There are so many occasions where people have done this, and I'm sure you are aware of certain things. It's very popular in Asia, and this is because the mentally created asada was giving more pleasure than this suffering, right? So this suffering that they are taking now, so burning themselves, some them, they just put petrol or diesel and then they burn themselves in front of their parents, because their parents don't allow them to marry that girl or boy. So they are ready to take this kind of suffering. Why? Because the asada they created inside their mind was more powerful or more pleasurable than this suffering. So that is how strong it was. So that is where you can end up in, by making it stronger and stronger and stronger. What you do is, what happens is, you see something, you go home, especially when it comes to like love and things like that, you get strongly attached. You go home and you think about it. You think everything you think about is about that woman or about that man. Then it becomes stronger and stronger in the mind. Vijnana pacca nama rupa pacca vijnana. So you are feeding the vijnana with nama rupa. You think about the same thing again and again and again, and you're making it stronger and stronger and stronger, and then you come to this place where you cannot live without it, kind of thing. So this is where you need to be mindful. You need to understand what this is, and you need to understand how to deal with this, right? Another example is from the Girimananda Sutra that we looked at. Dasa Sanya we talked about. In the Girimananda Sutra, it says Panchaskandhya, to look at Panchaskandhya as anicca, and Pancha Upadanaskandhya aniccanupassana. So we have to look at the Pancha Upadanaskandhya, and we have to get rid of the Upadana bit. So even in the Girimananda Sutra, they are talking about the Upadanaskandhya is what we need to look at. That is another example. And now we have talked about the sukha and asada and dukkha. Now we are going to talk about the upeksha plus avidya, how you get attached to upeksha with avidya. This is something that people don't really understand, Because raga, attaching with raga is easy, attaching with dvesha is easy, it's very obvious. But how do you attach to upeksha or a neutral with avidya? So this neutrality is something to do with the situation now. So you think, okay, I'm not going to attach to anything with raga, and dvesha is also not good. I'm going to let everything go, and I'm going to go to a forest and stay calm and quiet without disturbing anyone. I want to be alone, peaceful. So now you're attached to this with avidya. So you're not attached to anything to do with raga, right? You're not attached to anything to do with dvesha, but you're attached to moha, which is you're attached to upeksha. Upeksha is you want it to be neutral, you want to stay away from everyone. But for example, you go to a forest and then you stay there for a while, and then you get disturbances in there. So you get disturbed when you're staying there. So now you say, for example, you stayed there for 1 year, did meditation, you were really good, you managed to enjoy the peace in the forest and everything, and then all of a sudden a company or a hotel, you hear that a hotel gets constructed very close to where you were staying. Now you suffer because you wanted to stay alone. You didn't want to get involved with anything. You didn't want raga or dvesha. Now you have been disturbed, but you wanted to be alone without getting disturbed. Now you have been disturbed. So this is what upeksha, attaching to upeksha with avidya is. Because there is still an attachment, and that will create a problem if they don't get what they wanted, right? Moving on, how dukkha samudaya is created because of paticca. Now it's again dukkha samudaya. We are talking about the same things again and again and again with examples. I know it's a little bit boring, but we have to look at these, get these very, very clear, so that we know when it comes to meditation, you can meditate properly, knowing everything correctly. Because it's a lot of references from the Thripitaka has been taken, right? How dukkha samudaya or asada. This the other thing here is they are talking about dukkha samudaya. Good. Dukkha samudaya is, you look at dukkha, when you look at the Four Noble Truths, the second one is the dukkha samudaya. Dukkha samudayang ariya satcham, right? Then this dukkha samudaya, they are talking about the dukkha samudaya, that is the asada, that is the trishna. It's the same thing, right? If you look at everything, when we go deeper and deeper, you will understand, oh, this is the same thing. Oh, this asada is the same thing. Or trishna. You're creating the asada through trishna. And this is the reason for the suffering, kind of thing. So it is in Samyukta Nikaya 4, Dukkha Samudaya Sutra. The name of the sutra itself is Dukkha Samudaya. Samudaya is the creation. Sang Uda. Sang is the collection. Uda is the birth. Right? Dukkha. Dukkha is a suffering. How is this dukkha being created? Through the collection of avidya trishna. Right? It's explained in page 183. And it in the sutra, in this sutra, the sutra before, we talked about Loka Samudaya Sutra. What was the page? The Loka Samudaya Sutra. Where was Loka Samudaya Sutra? Loka Samudaya Sutra. So in the Loka Samudaya Sutra, we were talking about how the world is created. Right? Now we are talking about the Dukkha Samudaya Sutra, Samyukta Nikaya 4. In this sutra, it is the same thing in this sutra. Oh yes, Samyukta Nikaya 4, Loka Samudaya Sutra, 184th page. And in the Samyukta Nikaya 4, Dukkha Samudaya Sutra, 183rd page, they talk about the same thing. Because this Dukkha Samudaya and Loka Samudaya is the same thing. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha uppajjati chakku viññānaṁ tinnaṁ sangati passo passa paccaya vedana vedana paccaya tanha vedana paccaya tanha ayam dukkassa samudaya. This tanha, creating the tanha, is the creating the dukkha samudaya. So what you need to understand is this dukkha samudaya is the same as loka samudaya, or it is the same as asada, because it's everything is connected, everything is created by the mind. The mentally fabricated pleasure that one creates by attaching to rupa is asada of rupa. Again, we're talking about the asada. Reason for now we move on to Kama Vyapada and Hinsa Vitakka. The reasons for Kama Vitakka, Vyapada Vitakka and Hinsa Vitakka. The reason for this is paticca. When you attach with raga, dvesha, moha, is when the kama or vyapada is hatred, and hinsa is hurting someone, the thoughts of hurting, right? All these come because of raga, dvesha and moha. So that is also explained in this sutra. Then we move on to Samyukta Nikaya 2, Sanidana Sutra. Sanidana Sutra, page 237. In the Sanidana Sutra, they say Kama, Vyapada and Hinsa. Kama dhatu bhikkave paticca uppajjati kama sanya. So kama dhatu bhikkave paticca uppajjati kama sanya. So from the kama dhatu, when you attach with raga, dvesha, moha, that is why the paticca is being used, it becomes kama sanya. They become kama sanya. Again, same thing, vyapada sanya or hinsa sanya. So this, when you attach with raga, dvesha, moha, is when these get defiled and these get polluted, and that is when you go away from the Nibbhana. So that is the main thing you need to learn from here. Moving on to the next one is Nekkhamma. That is the other side of the same sutra, Sanidana Sutra, page 238. That's the next page. In there it says Nekkhamma bhikkave paticca uppajjati nekkhamma sanya. So before we talked about the kama, right? So kama sanya, how the kama sanya is created by kama dhatu bhikkave paticca uppajjati. When you attach to kama dhatu, you create the kama sanya. When you attach to the nekkhamma dhatu with raga, you create the nekkhamma sanya. So what we need is the nekkhamma sanya. We don't want kama sanya, we want to overcome the kama sanya. So how you overcome this kama sanya is by attaching to the nekkhamma. Paticca uppajjati nekkhamma sanya. It is like we discussed about 2 weeks ago about rather than trying to keep everything away and not disliking something, rather than just letting everything go, you just attach to Nibbhana. You attach to the tranquility of Nibbhana. You see the good about Nibbhana. When you see more and more, because we talked about Nicca Sukha Atta, we had to see Nicca Sukha Atta of Nibbhana, Anicca Dukkha Anatta of the world. We have to do both. It's not just one. If you just see Anicca Dukkha Anatta of the world, you can't get rid of very easily. But if you see the Nicca Sukha Atta of the Nibbhana, then it's easier for you to let things go. Because it's like we talk about, oh, this is how wonderful it is to attain Jhana. But if you attain Jhana and enjoy the pleasure and the happiness, then you'll be like, yeah, this is much better. So now you can. This is what I want. I don't want the panchakama sukha. It's just it's never fulfilling, but this is fulfilling. This is so good compared to the panchakama. You can't even compare. That's how good this is. So you try to see the good side of it and you attach towards that. So that is what in the Samyukta Nikaya 2 Sanidana Sutra says, right? To attach to Nibbhana, right? So you need to attach to Paticca with Nekkamma, Avyapada and Avihimsa. You're attaching to that. That's the opposite of Kama, Vyapada and Hinsa. Petakopadesha 273rd page says one can enjoy the mentally fabricated asada as much as he or she likes. In the Petakopadesha it says if one wants to enjoy the asada mentally, because it's being enjoyed mentally, no one can stop it, because you cannot restrict that, because you enjoy it mentally. You can fall in love with someone and enjoy, and the other person doesn't even know. I'm pretty sure you've come across situations like that. You see a really, if you're a guy, you see a really beautiful girl and you're like, oh my god, I want to make her mine. You're thinking, it's in your mind. She hasn't even seen you. She doesn't even know. You're going behind her. You want to see her. Maybe if it was when you were young, when you were at school or something, you every time you see her, your heart beats very rapidly, and then you want to whenever you see her, you just freeze, right? Things happen in you, but she doesn't even know. You go home and think about her. So it's what it says here is in the Petakopadesha, one can enjoy the mentally fabricated asada as much as he or she likes, and no one can restrict them, right? The drawback of this is when it comes to viparinama, it gives the suffering. So until it comes to viparinama, you're not going to understand a problem with it. You'll be like, wow, it's good, it's really nice and everything, right? But the problem is when it comes to viparinama, that is when you start suffering. Until then, you're fine. For example, we'll take the example of the phone that we took before. When you buy the new phone, you really love it, it's really nice, you keep it really softly, you don't throw it away, you just clean it, you polish it, whatever you can do, right? And then you look after it really well. But after 6 months, you just throw it around, you're not bothered anymore. It's a pain sometimes. It becomes a pain. The thing that you loved so much becomes a pain. You can apply this to anything. It could be your girlfriend, it could be your wife, it could be a house, it could be a car, anything. When you first take it or buy it or acquire it, You love it so much. And then by the time when it moves on, it changes slowly, and then you come to a situation where like, oh, I had enough with this, right? And now you are only seeing the sufferings to do with it. And it's like, if you can stay out of it, you feel like, oh, this is much more peaceful. I'm sure you've come across so many things like that, right? It wasn't like that before, but it's like that now. So that is what you need to understand. But when it but the thing is, say for example, this same phone, if you give to someone who doesn't have a phone, that person will take it the way you took it that day. When you first acquired it, that person will be like polishing and cleaning and keeping it very nicely, looking after it. But after a few days, he will do the same thing. So that is the problem with this, because the asada wasn't in that. That is what you need to understand. If the asada was there, then you wouldn't have a problem, but because the asada wasn't there, you were expecting asada from there, but it wasn't. You created it mentally, now it's not there anymore. Now you start seeing all the faults and the problems in there. So that is how this goes. Now the next question is, what is the path to Nibbhana? Is letting go or attaching the path to Nibbhana? This is a question which we think differently. We will think, oh, letting go must be the path to Nibbhana. Right? But if you look at the Thripitaka, in the Thripitaka, Vijayabhara Samapanno Sutra, 126th page, they're talking about two things, right? Akusala Moola. There are akusala. Akusala are the immoral. The attachment of akusala, and there are attachment of kusala. So when we come to this attachment, we need to attach to kusala. When we are walking the path, what we need to do is we need to attach to certain things. We don't let go everything, right? We need to attach to Nibbhana. So Nibbhana is Ragakkayo, Dveshakkayo, Mohakkayo. So we need to attach to Ragakkayo, Dveshakkayo, Mohakkayo, which is the Kusala Moola. So you attach to Kusala and you detach Akusala or immoral. So you detach from immoral activities, or you detach from Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So you need to know what to attach with and what not to attach with, or what to detach and what not to detach. If you detach everything, then you're not going to walk the path either, because you have to have some kind of it is not called desire, it's called chanda. You have to like, you have to have the like to get there. I'm sure I've explained this before, but I will explain it again. There are 4 irdipada that you need to develop. Chanda, Chitta, Virya, Vimansa. Those are the 4 irdipada. And Chanda is, you need to have the desire to get to that. Chitta is your mental, you have to have the mental focus on that. Virya is you have to put effort towards that. Vimamsa is you need to find out about it and then get that done. The same thing, I think one person came to see Sariputta and asked this question. You say you have to get rid of the raga to attain Nibbhana, and then you say you have to attach to Nibbhana. So then Sariputta and once asked, okay, let me explain this. So you, before you came to see me, did you have a like to see me? Chanda, that is the Chanda. Did you want to see me? He said, yes, of course, I wanted to see you. Okay, good. Chitta, did you have a mental thought that I need to go and see Sariputta? He said, yeah, of course. I created the mind so that I can come and see you. Yes. And then Virya, did you put effort towards coming in to see me? He said, of course, yes. I had to come a long way to see you. That is the Chanda, Chitta, Virya. Then Vimamsa, did you find out how to get to me? He said, of course I did find out. I was asking people about the directions to come to this temple where you were, and then I found out. Okay. Now is Sariputta and Wahanse is asking the same person again, now do you have a chanda to see me, or do you have a desire to see me? Then he says, no, I don't have a desire anymore because I have seen you. Now do you have a chitta? Do you have a vimamsa? Virya, do you put effort to see me now? No. So now after getting to Nibbhana, you don't need to put these anymore. So that is what he explained, right? So up until you get in there, you need everything, but once you get in there, you don't need it anymore. So it's like that. Kusala Mula Tanha. So Kusala Mula Tanha is something that you need to have, right? It's even though it's a tanha, you don't call it tanha, but kusala mula tanha is not a problem. So to get rid of the raga, dvesha, moha, you have to have a tanha. So that is fine, and that is the path. Eliminating avidya and trishna, that will result in rebirth, is what you need to do. So kusala is eliminating the avidya and trishna. Kusala, ku is a word for bad, right? So ku is avidya and trishna, or ku is raga, dvesha, moha. So getting rid of. Sala is getting rid. So kusala is something to get rid of, right? So that is something that you need to know, and that is something that you need to develop in order to walk the path towards Nibbhana. So let's that's today's session. Actually, even though it is not too long, I covered most of about 3-hour session in today's discourse. So which is good. So we looked at how difference in paticca affects the passa, the sparsha. So the difference in contact. So how you attach with the 18 dhatu, the sparsha, sampassa, and the sampassaja vedana differs according to your attachment. So that is the first thing we looked at. And then the next thing we looked at was Samiddhimara Sutra, how you create a wow factor by attaching with raga. So it is to do with you, it's nothing to do with the outside world. Then again we talked about the 5 senses, that they cannot enjoy the happiness or pleasure, and it's the mind that is enjoying, and that is by creating it, fabricating, mentally fabricating it. And because of that they cannot enjoy, they will never fulfill. So that is why they never fulfill. This is also the dukkha arya satya. That is the other thing we looked at. Then we looked at how the lokaya is created, or loka samudaya sutra. In the loka samudaya sutra, we looked at the vipaka lokaya and abhisankara lokaya. The loka is the world, how the world is created. There is a vipaka world and a abhisankara world. Abhisankara world is what we create through raga, dvesha and moha. So that is where the problem is. Then we looked at an example of this girl dancing, and how different people looking at this girl create their own world according to their according to how they attach with this, or according to the paticca, right? And then all of a sudden this girl fell down, and then how the world changed according to the paticca. So how they had the paticca changed their own world, right? Different people had different worlds created amongst themselves. And then we talked about the dukke loko patitita is talking about the loka dukkha, but it's not the whole world they are talking about. It's the abhisankara world that they are talking about. And then dhyana vibhanga, in the vibhanga prakarana, dhyana vibhanga, we brought out that pancha upadana skandha is the world. It is the same thing as abhisankara world or asada world. These are all similar. It is the same thing. And now then we moved on to Dutiya Asutavanta Sutra, and the problem with the Pruthajjana, how he sees and what he is trying to focus on and what he is trying to eliminate. He is looking at the body, or he is looking at the Panchaskandha, and he is focusing on the Panchaskandha and trying to get rid of the Panchaskandha rather than the Pancha Upadana Skandha. So that was his problem, and that is not what a Sutava Arya Savakya would do. Sutava Arya Savakya is a noble person who has understood the Dhamma. He will concentrate on the mind, because that is where the Raga, Dvesha and Moha is created. And then we looked at the Sabba Dukkha, Siyalu Dukkha. Sabba Dukkha is not everything. Sabba is Swa Abba. Swa is me. Abba is what I attach to. So what I attach to is my suffering. And then we looked at the Dukkha Dukkha, how Dukkha Dukkha is created by attaching it to Dukkha with hate and creating Dukkha Dukkha. And then we talked about what needs to be eliminated. The Pancha Upadana Skandha, or the Raga, Dvesha, Moha is what we need to eliminate, and not the Panchaskandha. Then we looked at how Dukkha Samudaya is created. Earlier we looked at Loka Samudaya. Now after that we looked at Dukkha Samudaya, how Dukkha is created, or the Asada is created because of Paticca. And it's the same thing. Loka Samudaya or Dukkha Samudaya is the same thing. That's what we looked at. Then reason for Kama, Vyapada and Hinsa, Vitakka is Paticca. So then we looked at how to get the Avihinsa or Nekkamma and Avyapada is also by Paticca. So you Paticca with Nekkamma. Nekkamma bhikkave paticca uppacchati nekkamma sanya. How to create the nekkamma sanya? So that is what you need to get attached to. Then we looked at Pitaka. We talked about one can enjoy mentally fabricated asada as much as he or she likes. The problem is when it gets viparinama is when that person starts suffering, right? When he's enjoying the asada, there is no problem, but everything gets viparinama. It ends up with a viparinama. So then it will bring him a suffering, right? And then we looked at what do we need to do, letting go or attaching. So we need to know what you need to let go and what you need to attach with. There are things that you need to let go and there are things that you need to attach to. It is the same thing we looked at in the last discourse. We talked about parihana dharma, aparihana dharma. That's how these all link. Letting go, you let go raga, dvesha and moha. You attach with nibbhana, right? And in the parihana dharma, also parihana dharma, we say nicca sukha atta subha. If we take the world as nicca sukha atta subha, that is a parihana, that will take you away from the nibbhana. But if you take the world as anicca dukkha anatta, then it will take you towards nibbhana. So it is the same thing. There is a aparihana dharma. And then we looked at akusala or immoral activities. You need to attach to immoral activities and you need to detach from the attachment to akusala moola or immoral activities you need to detach from. And then kusala moola you need to attach to. Kusala. Ku is the bad stuff, which is raga, dvesha, moha, right? Sala is getting rid of. So kusala means getting rid of raga, dvesha, moha. That is why you need to attach to kusala or moral activities. And that's what we talked about today.